The Poco M7 Pro 5G is a very affordable phone that you can get for under $250, which varies a bit by market. We reviewed it extensively. It accompanied us on a city trip to Munich, we took vacation photos, watched YouTube and Netflix, and also played some games. Some things really disappointed us. Many made us wonder what Xiaomi was thinking. But there's also one redeeming factor which caught us off guard. But first, let's start the review with the design. The exterior of the Poco M7 Pro 5G is made entirely of plastic. It's 6.67 inches diagonally, 8mm thick, and weighs 190 grams. The display on the front has very narrow bezels, but the back has a more striking design. About half of it has a shimmering metallic texture printed on the cheap plastic, which certainly won't appeal to everyone. The cameras are housed in a plastic base that protrudes significantly. Unfortunately, this causes the phone to wobble significantly on flat surfaces when you try to use it. Yes, more than usual. The buttons on the sides feel a bit loose, but they work like they should. On the plus side, Poco includes a matching grey rubber case, which makes the phone more stable on the table. The main camera has a resolution of 50 megapixels with an f2.4 aperture, and it's supported by a 2 megapixel depth sensor. The front camera has a resolution of 20 megapixels and an aperture of f2.2. Videos can be recorded in up to 1080p at 30 frames per second. Yes, 4K is not supported. Besides the standard photo and video modes, there's a portrait, night, documents, and 50 megapixel mode. In the latter, you can take photos using the full megapixel count of the sensor. Otherwise, photos are always downscaled to 12 megapixels. Honestly, Xiaomi could have skipped the 50 megapixel mode entirely. The lens is just not good enough to take advantage of the full resolution. Photos in the 50 megapixel mode are noticeably less sharp than other smartphones with the same resolution. There's a Pro mode where you can manually adjust white balance, focus shutter speed, and ISO and exposure compensation. You can also save your favorite settings and access them quickly later via a shortcut. The photo quality is fine, and with a bit of tuning in Pro mode, you can get pretty good photos. But we really missed an ultra wide angle camera. It's a pity that you can't zoom out when you try to take group or landscape shots. But well, that's just not included in a budget device like this. We also compared the Poco M7 Pro with the Nothing CMF Phone 2 Pro and the Samsung Galaxy A36. Often the photos from all three look very similar. At least in 12 megapixel mode, which is what most people will use anyways. In a direct comparison though, the Phone 2 Pro is clearly better. It also has an ultra wide angle and a telephoto camera, and you can even shoot in RAW format. The Poco can't do any of that. The Poco M7 Pro 5G packs a MediaTek Dimensity 7025 Ultra chipset. In everyday use, the system runs stable and common apps like WhatsApp, Instagram, or Chrome work smoothly. Issues arise with graphic-intensive games, video rendering, or multitasking with several performance-heavy apps. For example, larger projects in Canva with multiple layers sometimes cause stuttering. For simple edits in Lightroom, however, the performance is more than sufficient. By the way, we tested the 8GB RAM version, but there's also one with 12GB RAM. Both have 256GB of internal storage, which can be expanded with a microSD card. Unfortunately, we couldn't get Geekbench 6 to run properly, as the processor does not support the necessary rendering technologies. And then to benchmark, the M7 Pro is on the same level as the Redmi Note 14 5G and the Motorola Moto G84, and achieved 465,000 points in our test. The Poco X5 is also in a similar performance range. In the 3D Mark benchmark test, only the slingshot test can be run, and the Poco M7 achieved a rather weak result. By comparison, the Nothing CMF Phone 2 Pro scores more than double as high. In the real world, games like PUBG Mobile, Wild Rift, or Minecraft run smoothly and are pretty enjoyable despite the weaker performance. Lighter games and indie titles can be played pretty well on here. More demanding titles like Fortnite, Call of Duty Warzone, or Once Human can't even be installed as the hardware just isn't good enough. That's a shame, because we were able to play Fortnite very well on the Samsung Galaxy A36, which is just a little bit more expensive. The M7 Pro launches with Android 14 and Xiaomi's HyperOS 1.0. That's last year's Android version. Xiaomi has promised 2 years of Android version updates and 4 years of security updates. At least it will get updates, but the fact that it launches with an older Android version really bothers us. Our comparison devices all came with Android 15 right away. We also found the bloatware incredibly annoying. Many pre-installed apps and services send unwanted push notifications. While most of the software can be disabled or uninstalled, that's not the case with everything, and it's still annoying that you have to deal with that and ruins the first impression after setup. The AMOLED display of the Poco M7 Pro 5G measures 6.67 inches and offers a resolution of 24 by 1080 pixels. And it supports up to 120 Hz, so everything feels quite smooth. In daylight mode, it gets up to 2100 nits of brightness, but usually the peak is around 500 nits. To be honest, the brightness outdoors positively surprised us, especially compared to the Samsung Galaxy A36 and CMF Phone 2 Pro. We were really amazed at how bright it is in comparison, and that's definitely a highlight of the Poco, maybe the only highlight. The display is protected by Gorilla Glass 5, by the way. The Poco is quite suitable for watching movies thanks to the display, and the stereo speakers, they are okay as well. Nothing special, more like average, but at this price, they're totally fine. We like that it has a headphone jack. It also has a USB-C 2.0 port with fast charging up to 45 watts. A power adapter is not included. The dual SIM feature is implemented by a hybrid slot, allowing either 2 SIM cards or 1 SIM card plus 1 microSD card. The latter can be up to 1 TB in size. That's actually better than the Samsung A36, which lost its microSD slot. It's a shame that there's no NFC, so you can't use it for payments with Google Pay, but it does have a fingerprint reader. The Poco has a 5110 mAh battery, and in our battery test it only lasted 18 hours. For this test we always run an HD YouTube video in a loop with the brightness set to max. 18 hours is okay, but also not particularly good. Ultimately, the Poco M7 Pro 5G is fine if you don't have high expectations and want to spend as little money as possible. As mentioned, you can get it for under $250, and in some countries it's even cheaper. The display impressed us, and the rest is just barely acceptable, though only because of the cheap price. For everyday tasks, emails, WhatsApp and YouTube, it's going to be good enough. But it's very disappointing that the brand new phone comes with Android 14, has no NFC, and some games can't even be installed. You also can't record 4K videos. And especially with Android 14, we really wonder what Xiaomi was thinking here. Sure, it's under $250 and you probably have to live with things like this, but for just a bit more, you can get the Nothing CMF Phone 2 Pro, which has a better camera and newer software. And if you're looking for a gaming phone, the Samsung Galaxy A36 offers significantly better performance for a small extra cost. We think for most people it's worth paying just a little bit more and skip this Poco phone and get either the Samsung or the Nothing instead.